Did anybody else hear that? Oh, sorry, I don't know why that came on. Well, okay. Good morning. I am just going to send a little link to the agenda in the chat if you want to follow along. I forgot to send it with that email yesterday and I didn't want to bug everybody again. So I will just stick it right here. It's a Google Doc, so you should be able to access it. But whoa. So the first, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some things that I found out at SAU. First of all, there is a new website coming. I don't know if you've heard about that yet, but hopefully it's going to be ready for, it's hopefully going to be ready for like when we're doing all of our SAU signups, so that it's a much easier, sorry, I'm changing the settings, sharing settings. Apparently I didn't get that changed. Anyway, so you know how it's been so annoying to sign up all of your families to register in the fall. It's a much better, gosh dang it, I don't know how to do this. There we go. Okay. It's a much better layout. It's beautiful. There's photos. We should be able to have a lot more control on the website. And I'm really hoping that it'll be ready and available for us to look at in the fall when we do all of our signing up. But part of that, I'm just going to share this really quick, share my screen. Erica Hardy, who's the membership person, she was kind of going through the different regions, and she's going to include a map on the new website that has our regions. And so, I mean, I think this is kind of what we were doing anyway, but she suggested these three areas as kind of the regions that we have. And we changed the names slightly. So number 3 is going to be Utah South region. Number 1 is Utah North region, and the middle is like Salt Lake region. So not too different, but just so that it feels a little bit more inclusive of all these other rural areas. And maybe someday we can have so many teachers in all of these areas that we can break up into smaller regions. And anyway, that would be lovely to have people all over the state. So that's just kind of some news updates. I sent out an email yesterday just kind of promoting Merlin Thompson's YouTube channel. So I included the website and his YouTube channel on here, and if any of you are interested. And then I was talking to Jerry and Allison a little bit. I just wanted to mention the fall retreat is probably the next time I would like to get together. And I'm looking at September. That's kind of when we did it last year. We met in a park last year up in Riverton. And some of the feedback that I've been getting is that it's been a long time since we've had like the biggest 2 things, some training, some somebody come and talk to us about, I don't know what kind of training, everybody's just saying training. So that's one thing I would like some feedback on. What do you feel like we need? Like what kind of class would you like, or what kind of topic do you want to study? And the other thing is I got a couple of requests to do kind of a little bit longer, maybe like an overnight, something that we've done before. I have never done it. So I need some help because my other feedback is, does anybody have a place? Like, does anybody have somewhere we can go, or like, do you know who volunteered their space last time? That's the feedback I need. What kind of, I guess, what kind of class do you want to study, and where and who can help us?
You're wanting feedback right now?
Yeah, just a little bit. Let's just talk for a sec. Linda, yeah, you were muted. Linda, what were you going to say?
I can tell you about last time,
Okay.
and it was Amy Felix that let us use her cabin, and her students are NILA students. She was very
Okay.
generous and kind, and it was great, but I don't know whether it would work out again, but that was the
Yeah.
last time.
Okay.
I think in the past they've done everybody chip in and gone to Park City. I never really
Okay.
could do any of those overnight things because I just had little kids.
So you just like got a condo or whatever in Park City?
If I remember right, I didn't go. So,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
That's what it was. Before,
Okay.
I think we only did that once. Most of the time we were in like cabins.
Okay. Do you know what other kind of cabins or who contributed, Cleo?
Like, Ruth Ann Miller, see the people are gone now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So nobody in this group. All right. That, but I think that gave me an idea. In Park City, I might have some connections. So that actually helps me. Any ideas on, and maybe we can answer this at the end of our little chat today, but does anybody have any ideas of what kind of topics we would like to study as far as trainings go? Anything that you feel like we really need?
That was what I was going to talk about.
Okay.
Usually we just have a workshop where a person, like the clinician, will come in and teach children so that we can watch or teach the students, and also give us some lessons. It's not really like there's a specific topic. It just goes like a regular workshop.
Okay. Did you do that as
like
part of?
Bruce Anderson? Like, are you talking like Bruce Anderson workshop
Yeah.
when we did those?
Yeah.
We were,
And you did that as part of your retreat as well?
no,
Oh, okay.
totally different.
Okay.
A lot of times we had them in right after, after Christmas, kind of in the middle of the year. We've had them all different times though, in the fall.
Yeah, I think last time when Bruce came, it was a November.
Yeah,
He was also here in June, because I can remember we took him to that horse show that was around.
Mm. Okay. Any other ideas?
I'm actually, so Brianna and I are doing practicum with Cleo, and it's been incredible. Like if there's any one thing that's changed my teaching, this is the workshop that's changed my teaching more than anything. This kind of training, because it's so you have to put yourself out there a lot, which is a little scary, but you have to show video. The whole process is you're showing everybody else you're teaching, either through video or live teaching, and then you get immediate feedback on, you could have tried this was good, how do we approach this? So it's been really good. And anyway,
Okay.
I don't know if you could do like I don't know if people would be interested in that, because it is very I don't know what the word is. It is
Vulnerable.
People would be, yeah, it is vulnerable. Very good. It's very vulnerable. So I don't know if people like it or not, but you have to really go in with an open mind. Like, I'm coming in to see how I can improve, and so yeah, it's been good. I don't know if anybody would be interested in the mini version of that, but
Kind of just where we do it together and look at each other's stuff.
yeah, you have to, everybody come in with a video or something, or I don't know.
Okay.
But I've thought it's been good.
I like that. On that same page, I didn't, when I was kind of looking around for online institutes and stuff this year, I don't know a whole lot about like what SAA offers as far as teacher training other than like the unit trainings, right? But there's a class, that a teaching strategies class, that is very similar. It's and so I signed up for it. I'm going to take the class from oh gosh,
Somebody.
Carolyn Fraser. Is that who it was?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's
Caroline.
her.
Her name's
Yes.
Caroline Fraser. Yeah.
Okay.
This
And
is brand new. This is really brand new.
brand new. Oh, okay.
Right.
That's good. So I'm not totally missing everything. She's doing 2 sessions of that, though, is what I was going to say, in July. I'm doing the second one. It's all online, but it's very similar to what Kara is saying. You have to teach a student, and I'm not sure how it's going to work, because I think I have to teach students that are actually there. So I don't know if I have to teach on Zoom or if I have to bring I do know that I have to bring some of my, like one of my own students to teach as well. But I mean, you have all these observers watching you teach, and then there's feedback. So again, pretty vulnerable, but if anybody wants to join me the second week of July, or the second, anyway, you can find it on the SAA website, and it's Carolyn Fraser's second session in July. Or you could do the first one if you don't want me to be in your group. So, okay, any other ideas on things you'd like to study or talk about?
I was just going to add about the teaching strategies. They're talking about piggybacking it on Unit 2. You know, we've got ECC. Part of ECC is now in Unit 1. ECC used the whole thing be separate, but a lot of it was instrument specific. So they kind of chopped ECC up and had the preparatory, and then the rest of it's in Unit 1. And that's why Unit 1 is 15 hours now. No, it's more than that.
Oh.
It's 15 hours.
Oh, yeah.
It was more days. It was like 9 days instead of, almost twice as long. And it costs a lot more. Now, the reason I said that is they're having the idea of trying to piggyback a teaching strategies course onto Unit 2. And the problem, of course, is they're worried about the fact that it would be longer and it would cost more money. And so a lot of people just wouldn't take it. But that's in the, that's in the works to see if they could do that. Thinking that teacher training has always been just unit training. And we're, as a group, the teacher trainers have been doing Zoom meetings once a month. And the thinking was that it's almost like, I say, university training or something. We're teaching the pieces. All that unit training comes out is just a focus on teaching the literature. And we all know we all can play the literature. We've all auditioned. We don't have to do more with that, but we're not teaching a whole lot about doing the thing about, again, how to teach and the philosophy of Dr. Suzuki and all those things that should be going in with it. They're not there right now. So that's why the teaching strategy course was developed.
Okay. And it feels the teaching strategies and this practicum and, well, SPA feels like kind of an introduction into that. You don't have to record yourself as much in SPA, but all 3 of those are very similar in that they heavily focus heavily on your strategies and how to teach. Mm-hmm.
Is teaching strategies instrument specific?
Yes. And SPA is not, but practicum is also. So practicum and teaching strategies are both that way. Okay, well, if any of you have any other ideas, Kara, go for it.
I was just gonna say a thought. One of the things, so we've had, people here and there that are like, we need to have training, we need to bring people in. And So, I mean, we did that with Bruce Anderson, and I think it was really good, but it's really, I think the new world that we now live in, is that it's possible. Like, I think your idea of like, let's sign up for this July, teaching strategies thing together is a really good idea. I personally can't do July, but I think approaching training like that is a good idea. The problem with bringing people in is it's very expensive to fly them in and to house them and then to pay their fee. And it was always so stressful to be like, are we going to get enough participants to cover the costs of this workshop? And that's really difficult. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, because in-person training I think does not replace Zoom. I mean, it's tricky. I mean, in-person is a lot
more valuable.
It's just different. It's a different feeling. Although we've had several Zoom meetings with Cleo for practicum, and it's been great. But we've had some in-person too. Anyway, I just think it's an option that we should keep in mind, especially where we've got so many teachers that are on different walks of life that, maybe some people aren't as interested in ongoing training and some people are more interested. And I just think it's something worth keeping in mind, that we can do these online trainings to help manage our costs here, because it is very expensive to bring people here.
Yeah. So if we, and in that way, like it's, we end up paying for a good chunk of it when we pay. Well, we pay for all of it, right? We get the personal cost when we do the online trainings, rather than have to burden that whole thing through our budget, our piano budget. What was I going to say? Oh, but there's always scholarship opportunities too, through SAU, but also SAA, and each institute has typically, I mean, you kind of have to sign up early to get access to the scholarships, usually about February, I think, February or March are some of the due dates for applications
February for SAA.
Huh?
February for SAA.
February. And then for some of the individual institutes even offer scholarships, which have a little bit different deadline. So yeah, that's a really good thing to keep in mind, and let's keep thinking about that and talking about it. So thanks, Kara.
Brianne?
So
I was going to say,
Cleo, yeah.
The SAA scholarship is not institute specific, and you don't have to say it up front. You just get a scholarship for training, and then so later you can decide where you want to go and how you want to use it. It's not going to cover all the class, but I think it's been $200. I don't know what it is now, but $200 goes a long ways towards the training thing.
Yeah, that is what the SAU one is too, but you have to specify which institute you want, and it is $200 for that one too. Jeannie, were you going to say something?
Well, yeah, I just had a thought. So why couldn't we pursue a new idea if we like that idea? Piggybacking on the idea of having a clinician come and work with us and our students. What I've liked about it is how it brings us together, and we get each other's chemistry, and we feel the unit of teachers working together. I guess I'm a social person, and I like hearing what everybody else brings to the workshop. I like seeing other students getting the one-on-one lesson with the clinician, and the teachers getting help. We used to do it at least once a year, and it seemed like there was progress happening within our studios when we were doing that. But with the changes that have been
Oh, I think we lost you, Jeannie.
Yeah.
Yep, I think. don't know what happened. Maybe her phone died.
I can almost predict what she's going to say, because I think she's going to say something about doing a Zoom meeting, especially for us. Instead of having a clinician come here, we could do this Zoom meeting, and we could do the clinician. We could have the clinician be especially for us, but have the training be especially for us.
So you're saying to get the clinician through Zoom? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
And it would save a lot of money because it would save transportation and food and housing.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great idea too. Something that we've thought about. So
Yeah, kind of like when Ray Kate Shen came a little bit. That was a very short amount of time, but I thought it worked.
It was valuable. Yeah, it was good. And it was a way to get input from outside. So very good. Well, I do want to get to our discussion at hand, our topic. We, at SAU convention, we talked about level 3 performances. And I don't want it to take forever in this meeting. But I do want to have a good discussion. So first, I'm going to throw out the question that I want you to tell me any of the thoughts or experiences you've had since February about level 3 performing, and when, if and when you've seen it, you know, in your studio. And I'll just start so you have a second to think. But when we first talked about this with Cleo in February, I had in my mind like the idea that it was more of an emotional level, right? That it was an emotional element to performing that we were missing. And so I kind of, when we were getting ready for Federation, attacked it at that level with my students. And I didn't see a whole lot of improvement or change. And I was kind of just not very clear. But when Cleo sent me the video of Kathy Hargrave's student performance, he was like, as far as what I see looking like emotion, he was just very, very straight and didn't show a lot in his body, but he had beautiful, like there were lots of other things that I could see were elements of level 3 that I hadn't like thought about before, that it's not just purely like, okay, it's the emotional part. Yeah, sure. That's one part of it. Being able to play well is that you have an emotional connection and stuff, but that it's all of the other pieces as well. And so the thing that I tried on my last recital was we just picked songs that they had been playing for a long time instead of their newest piece, you know. And I mean, I've been very good at making sure that the kids are prepared for their recitals before now, but it was just a different experience having them feel so comfortable, and they played beautifully. It was probably the best recital that we've had, and not everything. My son biffed it really hard on a piece that he should have known really well, but he played two. He played Cradle Song and Arietta, and Arietta was flawless and beautiful tone and good balance, all the things that we've been working on, and he enjoyed playing it. He likes playing it. So that is my little, in a nutshell, in my experience for the last couple of months. Does anybody have anything that they've kind of discovered or an experience they want to share?
I got a chance to watch his performance last night, and some of the elements of his level 3 playing, I was like, yes, I mean, that was in my mind, and a lot of things I was reminded of. Oh yes, that's what level 3 is. I loved his phrasing, like you heard from Minuet 2, you know, the right hand arpeggiated shape, you know, it grew and died. And then the left hand arpeggiated shape, it grew and died. So I thought he had just such a great sense of rhythm. Of phrasing. of phrasing. And throughout his pieces, I really felt like there were lots of ways that he took it to a level 3 plane. And and to me, that's just a step beyond, you know, the tone and rhythm. But I think he had a very good sense of rhythm, yet, you know, for Elise had beautiful rubato. His tone, I mean, that's the thing that I think makes Suzuki more unique and stand out, is just those elements of tone and his control over tone and very deliberate use of playing with beautiful tone. So it was good to watch. It wasn't a flawless performance, which kind of, you know, was like, I mean, he had 40 minutes of music. My performance would not be flawless playing 40 minutes of music, but the number 3 elements were there. So
I agree with the phrasing was probably the biggest thing that stuck out to me too. His phrasing was beautiful. And even though I couldn't, like, I wanted a little bit more visually, you know, but it was beautiful. You could hear the you could just hear the precision and the amount of time that he had spent and with those pieces, you know, and like Allison said, I was actually kind of glad that it was not flawless. I mean, even I think it was Minuet in G, he had a little like stumble and from book 2, you know, and I was like, that happens. We had a UMTA little meeting where John Schmidt came and talked to the teachers. And one of the things that he said, he's like, it's unfair. It's so unfair because I go into the studio and I record these CDs and we have take after take after take after take that we can get it perfect. And then I have to go perform in person. And he's like, my goal is to get it as good as it is on the CD, but it's never the same. You know, I get one shot, it's very different. And so he's like, that's my standard, but it's in the live performance, it's different. And I was like, okay, that makes me feel a little bit more relaxed, you know, about the notes. And you know, he didn't play, like, he had a couple of note slips or whatever, but they were very different than when you are really struggling, right? He didn't have huge memory loss, memory gaps or anything. He was just hit a wrong note, like his finger slipped or whatever, you know. Did everybody watch Kathy's student on that Facebook video that I sent? Good. So we kind of know what we're saying. Good. Yeah, I thought that it was really beautiful.
First of all, what John Schmidt said, I was, what do you call it, fortunate enough, you know, Dr. Kataoka recorded her things here in Salt Lake City. I don't know if you know that. And I was with her at that recording session. Yeah, she had to take takes. I think the funnest thing was her kulau. She couldn't do the repeat. She'd play it beautifully and then she'd take the repeat and mess it up. And finally, the engineer said to her, you know, we can just put the same one, the first one on twice, and it'll be good. And that's what they did. And, you know, a lot of people just think she's perfect in doing that, but this is true also. It came that way. The other thing I forgot.
Okay. Interrupt me if you think of it.
Okay.
I love the kind of the direction that Allison was going. That was actually going to be my next question, is what are the elements? What are the elements of level 3 playing then? You know, my initial thing was like, it was the emotion, right? Being able to see and feel the emotion, but actually listening to Kathy's student made me realize that phrasing was outstanding, and the comfort, I guess. So what are some other elements that you've kind of thought about?
That was the thing. That's my second thing.
Oh, good.
Not what Dr. Suzuki said, and I think all of this has to do with review. And I hate to call it review in my studio, I call it performance. These are your performance pieces and you need to play them. And they do them. They always have 4 pieces ready. More book 1 when they're in book 1, they have the whole book. Dr. Suzuki said that when your mind has achieved all the things we're talking about that we usually say, the level 2, when we've achieved that, and then we keep going with it and playing and playing. I like the way he said, your brain is free. A lot of the things that you're doing is automatic. So you have more room in your brain to think about the music and to be able to play it. I think it's almost what we're talking about. It becomes almost conversational. It's not like you play it like you talk. And the thing I was really most impressed with his twinkles. I mean, he made those twinkles sound beautiful, but he was at this way beyond the literature level. But the twinkles, you know, they were just there, not just straightforward, but he really turned them into music. I guess that's what I was going to say.
So brain things that you're kind of talking about are like notes, rhythms, getting it all, learning it all, getting it all together so you can play it fluently, all of those things. And then that time where it becomes more automatic, both in muscle memory and in just everything. It's not just solely muscle memory, but then you're more free to kind of to let it get turned into music.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it's more a sense of feeling it than it is preparing it. The emotion just has to come naturally from inside, is what I'm saying. It's not like, well, I'm going to play this part this way and this part this way. It's totally not in your head at all. It's really coming from your heart. And that's what Dr. Suzuki always talked about. If we're going to change, or not change, but develop the children's heart and to be something beautiful and wonderful, this is one of the ways we do it.
Mm. I like that.
I think
any other thoughts? Yeah, go ahead.
I think he had a very clear picture of the sounds. You know, it wasn't like you kind of just have heard this and you play it. Like he knew exactly when notes cut off, like, and I know I'm not going to convey this thought that I'm having correctly, but it's like the notes that he wanted to have more tone, he knew exactly which note. Like there were some notes in minuet, and I've had a couple graduation students in minuet book 4 recently, and I really noticed that there were these certain notes that he brought out and kind of almost held and gave us tone notes, and it really made the piece beautiful, but it was very deliberate. Like he knew exactly where he wanted it. It wasn't like in the moment he was just creating that. Like he had a plan and he was following the plan. If I had to guess, I know it's like when you do that hand separate practice and you just know how every note's supposed to go individually. Sometimes when we're always playing hands together, we think we're doing stuff, but we don't hear the little details and nuances. And he was just aware of every detail and nuance. I mean, it made me kind of think, okay, Kathy has taught very specifically, you know, how to bring out tone and where to bring out tone. And that was just one thing I observed.
He knew tone and he knew how to use it. And that's where it became, when I say automatic, I mean, he's with the music, and it's like an actor on stage who knows all the words and knows how to say them. But I think they also have a pretty good idea of presenting it, okay? And it's, you know, in a very communicative way, so that people also feel to understand what the feeling is, at least what his interpretation. It's not something that just happens one time or each time, but you have to have the skills, and that's a point. We're supposed to be teaching skills, not pieces. And if they all have the skills to control the tone, to be aware of shape, of phrasing, to just understand the communication part of the piece, then they have the skill to now they not only know how to do the skills to be able to do it, but they also know the piece so well because they played it for so many times that then they're able to do, as Allison said, just control it every note of all the way. They're saying that with all the skill that they've learned from us. Dr. Madoko has said you can't just give the child a chocolate chip cookie and say, this is delicious, because it might not be delicious to them. That's something that's totally individual, just like the way you're playing the piece can be totally individual. And I've had two students play the same piece and just think they're two different pieces because the way they played them was their own way.
So I like this, that it's, we need both elements. We need to be able to understand the details of the piece and teach that, but it's beyond the details of the piece. It's teaching skills all along the way that help you to say the things the way you want to say them. Is that a good
Yeah.
Somewhat
Yes,
a summary?
And what Cleo added, when you have two students, and this happens a lot, you have two students play a piece entirely differently. They could use their skills differently, but there might be many different interpretations. I remember one time, I can't remember the clinician that came, but he played a minuet for us, and then he played, some more advanced Bach minuet or something, but he also played minuet too. And one of the teachers was very concerned about like the way he played it. And he's like, this is just my interpretation, there's more than one way and they're all correct. And so like what Cleo said, you can have two students who play minuet two very differently. You could play it more connected and have tone in certain places and be musical, or you could have more detached notes and sound more Baroque harpsichord and have, and they're both correct musical interpretations. But I think the clear thing is you have the skills to put the tone and control the tone where you want it to be. And then you have a clear idea in your mind of what you want. It's not just what you're letting happen necessarily in the moment. You have a clear, map of what you want to convey.
Yeah, and I think the automatic part is from like that comes from the repetition of doing it that way of your plan every time. So yeah, it's planned out, but it can also be varied
And I remember one time Alan Fraser saying, and he wasn't Suzuki, but it kind of, hit me like, yes, it's planned out, but sometimes like you're on a different piano and then, your crescendo comes out differently than you expect. You compensate in the moment, right? So you still make it a musical idea. Maybe you have to adapt. And so things aren't going to come out 100% the same way. We're not robots. So every time we play it is going to have elements that are different. And sometimes it might even be the mood we're in. We could, change how we want to convey it. But having the tools, like Cleo said, to use the tone to do what we want to do, that's what we're teaching the students. And then their own personal, helping them learn to make, their own choices and interpretations can make the piece theirs but there's certain things that you don't get to choose. You know, if you're in a classical piece and there's a rest, you have to obey the rules. You know, you have to rest, you have to articulate, you have to do what's supposed to happen.
Honor the composer, honor the style, honor the, yeah, all the things. Very good. Jeannie, were you going to say something?
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry about my previous comment. I lost my connection totally to Zoom and I had to switch over just to my phone. So I don't know where that went. Everybody's made such good comments. One thing Cleo said about being an actor on the stage, you know, eventually that actor has to get past just saying the lines and enunciating them, projecting them, standing, you know, the blocking has to be in the right place. Eventually, all that has to happen automatically so that he can become that character that he's portraying. He's no longer, you know, John Smith or whatever his name is. He becomes that actor. And I saw this happen when we've done our celebration 5 piano concerts or 10 piano, when the students have had to prepare so in depth and they have to bring a piece that they already know. So that part's already happened, but the skill level that we have to work on so that everybody's skill can project the same sound, those skills have to happen. It's no longer teaching the piece, it's really teaching the skill. But then having them do it with so many repetitions. I think I mentioned this before, but I had a student after the last our last concert, which was in the end of last August. I had asked him a couple of 2 or 3 months later to play his piece. And he said, oh, he says, no, I haven't been reviewing that. And I said, well, you can still play that. And he says, oh, darn it. And he stopped for a minute and then he says, oh, Gavant, he says, that is right here. And he just pointed right to his heart. He says, that piece is right here. It lives inside of me. He said, I'll never forget that. And that moment was such a revelation for him to realize that that piece had come to another level and that he had projected it from inside of him. So when he played a recital a couple of weeks ago, I said, let's get this piece to that place that you can project it from inside of here. And I want to see if you can feel like you have a moment in that piece when you can communicate with the audience and you can feel that they're hearing you and you can feel that communication back and forth. And after he played, he just had this biggest grin on his face. He couldn't wait till after the recital was over to share that with me. He said, yes, he says, I really felt that communication. So I think that's part of level 3 is having the skills, having all of the repetition, having the specific repetitions, having the piece be familiar enough that it can go from just saying the lines on the stage and saying everything correctly to making it blossom inside of us so that we become not necessarily the composer, but feel an emotional connection with that piece. And then to be able to communicate that, you know, that Dr. Suzuki is saying that, you know, its heart and its tone, that becomes a real thing. And that happens when we feel the communication with those that are listening to us. So I think that's part of level 3 too.
Well said. That's what I was trying to say. You said it so good, Jeannie. Thank you.
Here we go. Now I'm unmuted. So I just want to wrap up. I don't want to go past 8, but I do want to say, like, then what? How do we raise the bar in our own studios and in our own regions and in Utah? And what are a couple of ideas that we need to change or start doing to get more of our students at that level more often?
had the impression that he didn't just relearn these songs to play them for this recital. I kind of thought, I bet Kathy Hargrave has heard these songs and reviewed them with him over the years. And I think so often it's like, I finish a book and maybe they, you know, review all the songs for their book recital, but then we don't really go back and ever hear the Twinkles again. And so I imagine that, you know, maybe you're not reviewing all the pieces, but maybe there's some key pieces that you could continue to review for the purpose, not of having that piece, not so he can play the Twinkles. It wasn't impressive. I mean, to us as Suzuki teachers, it was impressive to hear him play the Twinkles. It really wouldn't be impressive to anyone else. I thought people, if they get on this Instagram account and see him play the Twinkles, they'd probably be a little bit disappointed. But for him to work on tone, if he worked on tone in the Twinkles, that's the whole, you know, reason we keep doing the Twinkles, then you apply it to every other piece after.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I think my comment goes back to kind of, or just ties in with everything. I think there's, just ties in with what Jeannie was saying, and Brianna, you said along for your recital is, you know, we need to hold on to these songs, kind of like Five Piano. We hold on to them for so long, and we have the connection with them, and they just get better and better, or they can get better and better if you hear them and make sure they stay polished. And so choosing songs for recitals that are not just fresh but that you've had for a long time and you've been able to improve on, and that's what we need to do with graduation pieces. We just need to hold on to them for longer and keep working on them, you know. And we've got several songs beyond past that, you know. Maybe you're well into book 3 by the time you play your book 2 graduation piece, and then along with that, something that we've talked a lot about in practicum, and something that I've talked a lot about with my students, is just practicing playing your performance pieces, as Leo calls them, and practice playing them beautifully. And if you practice playing beautifully, then you're going to perform beautifully. If you only practice your current piece where you're rough and you've got sticky spots, and then you're not going to play beautifully. Something that kind of came to my mind that I'm going to try to talk to my students about is, when we get ready for a performance, not only do we need to practice our performance piece, but we need to practice previous pieces that we have played that were beautiful. And so that we have all of these, you know, like, you know, for example, what Jeannie is saying, and say she's got a student that's going to be playing your minuets and shakings, and say, well, let's make sure we go back and play Gavotte, because you have Gavotte in your heart, and practice playing with that heart, and see if we can make that happen for your minuets and shakings or whatever. So that was kind of a montage.
I think it was great. I wrote down, I'm kind of taking notes on this agenda, so if you want to hang on to it, or I'll pass it on to people who haven't been able to be here. But yeah, practice performance pieces beautifully so that you'll be able to perform them beautifully. Practice well, practice pieces well, and also to use that experience of getting to a deeper level on one piece to guide them to how to get it on other pieces. So I really like that. And kind of something that Allison said too, that to continue to hang on to pieces, not just for the goal that, okay, I'm working on this piece so I can perform it at Federation, or I'm working on this piece so that I can perform it in this specific recital, but we're working on this piece to keep our skills sharp, you know, that we're gonna keep it, and it'll just keep getting better as we age, and we, yeah, that in turn will help all of the other pieces that they're playing, even their new ones. So,
Brianne?
yeah.
So I had to put it together a recital for our region. It was our region's graduation performance recital. And Manette had a student that actually had been in my group, little Luke Myers, real awesome little student, but he wanted to play. He must be halfway through book 5. I'm not sure what piece he is. He's not my student. But for this recital, he wanted to play Musette. And I said, okay, so I was putting the program together. I said, Musette in D in the middle of book 4, right? I said, that's a long ways. He's going back a whole book to play that piece. I said, did I understand that right? And she says, yes, he loves to play his old pieces. I mean, he wanted to share Musette because he loves it. I thought that is so cool.
Everett's the same way. When I asked for 4 quote unquote performance pieces, he would always have 7. And I'm thinking, how does he have time to play them? But you know, when they're that level, you don't have to play them all the time. Like you said, Jeannie, they're kind of in your heart, and they playing them once a week. The interesting thing, quote I've ever heard, somebody said to Isaac Stern one time after a performance when he's really older about how well he played the Mendelssohn. And he said, well, I should. It's been my friend for 30 years.
Oh my gosh, more than that.
Well, when he said it, you know.
Wow, that's cool.
But he's no longer just playing the pieces, they're playing the music.
I really like all of this. I think for me, we'll kind of wrap this up. For me, the big key is time. I think that was the biggest element that contributes to all of the things that we've been talking about, but really making time be more important. I just actually had on my recital program that quote by Dr. Suzuki about I don't have that all memorized, but don't hurry, do not hurry, and do not stop, right? And I feel like so much, I'm like, okay, let's hurry and get this learned so you can do it at Federation, or let's, but we have to remember that those things grow. Like we go back and talk about nurturing those plants that grow. You can't force a flower to bloom before it's ready. You can't force a song to be ready before it is. And so allowing ourselves and allowing our students and all those pieces time, to me, is a huge thing that I want to focus on. So
I want to say one more thing, because that's why I got online.
Okay.
This is perfect. This is all the things we want to do, but it's not going to work unless the parents know what we're doing and why. If the parents know why we're doing it, and that we're just not trying to hold the kids back, or we're just not trying to torture them because they have to hear it again and again. If they understand what we're doing and it's for the growth of the student, they're more apt to be in our side and help us, because we can do all we want to in the studios, but if the parents don't understand it and it doesn't happen at home, it's really hard to do. So that was my contribution for the whole morning.
You have contributed way more than that, but that is very important. I'm going to put that on our notes. So I am really glad that we could get on this morning and chat. I love, if one thing good comes out of COVID, it's that we all can figure out how to do Zooms, and hopefully a lot more efficient, and Kara can take her kids to school while we have a Suzuki meeting, and then we can still connect. So I really love that. I think I forgot to say when we were talking about the fall retreat, I'm looking at like the last 2 weekends in September as far as dates go, and I will send out an email that has some to gather feedback and stuff. But if you have ideas or resources like a cabin or anything that you come across, let me know. You can text me or call me or email me or whatever, but we'll just kind of plan on getting together in the fall. So thanks for coming. Did everybody have anything? So good to see you all. And Jeannie, we did kind of follow up on, sorry, I was going to say Cleo said that she could guess what you were going to say after you dropped off, but we just mentioned that maybe letting a clinician zoom in to help
Yeah.
save cost. Is that what we're saying? Yeah.
Right,
So,
right. You know, what I have liked about having, and maybe not having us all be in our own homes, but if we were in a group, in a
right.
group setting with a big screen, with the clinician there on the big screen, we get to have the best of all possible worlds.
You get
And we
both.
have to pay airplane fees and, you know, airfare and hotels and all of that. You know, and I think that what Cleo just said about getting parents involved, one thing that the clinician has brought is when we bring our students along with their parents, and the parents get to hear what we have been teaching out of the mouth of a clinician, reinforces our teaching. Or, you know, I just think it's so beneficial if we can still have that part of our clinic, having the students play, having teachers play. I just think, but having the students play and having the parents be involved in another way. The more ways we can get parents involved, the more ways we can get the message, the better.
Yes, I think that's great.
And we
Thank you.
have done Zooms where we've had students here and the clinician has taught them over Zoom. So that's not going to be something we have to send out, keep out of it, because we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I just wanted to thank you for posting Merlin's website and those lessons, I guess, that
Yeah.
I started watching those yesterday, and I think they're very valuable. I'm glad to have that resource.
Yes, it's true. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad that those were up there. Okay, we will have more information coming, so keep watching your emails, and everybody have a good summer. Woo!
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Brianne.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Great.
Thanks,
Good to see you.
Brianne.
Thank you,
Okay,
everyone, for your
thanks, everyone.
comments. Thank you,
See you.
Brianne, for
Good to see you
organizing.
all.
Bye-bye.
No problem. We'll see ya.
Which shoes are better for